Hey guys, it's Bobby Hughes with HPFirearms, and I'm here to bring you video 2 of our windmill, our homemade power generating windmill. And in this video what I want to go over is we're going to start working on the pivot for the pivot base for the windmill platform. Alright, and so what I've done here is taking the frame that we had to begin with. I added some 1/2 inch by 1/8 inch right angle. And what I did was I just cut 2 pieces 10 inches long, and I welded them to the, I started off by tacking them to the frame, the base of the windmill, just nice and level. Alright, so what you want to do is, the best way to do this is to actually set the frame up and lay it on there and kind of eyeball it to make sure that you have a nice even surface, because when you have 2 angles coming up like this and then you try to weld a piece of right angle on there, then your right angle is going to be pivoted down. So what you want to do is rock that right angle a little bit so that it gives you a nice flat surface once you tack it on here. So I got that tacked on, and then I went back in with some 3/4 inch by 1/8 inch right angle. And I've made a cross brace here where we're going to mount our bearing seat for our pivot base. All right. So, and I'll show you guys the significance of that during this video. But these, I think, were 12¼ inches long, and I just rocked them in underneath and spread them out, and then welded those in place as well. Now, if you notice on the video, it's probably going to show, it looks like I'm out of square. That's because I am a little bit out of square. The base of the windmill is nice and square using the cables. Alright, but this up here is not as square because I don't have cables up here to tighten it down, to pull it back to square. So what you want to do is make sure that your cross braces are square to your ends. And in this case, these are square, and that's why everything else looks out of square. Alright? So get those welded into place, and then we're going to move into installing our bearing seat for our pivot base. Alright, so here is our bearing seat for our that we're going to use for our pivot base. And you can see I've got my cross braces there lined up for this this base here. Alright, what I want to do is I need to make sure that it's dead center in the middle of the frame. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and measure inside to inside, alright, on the frame. And I'm at 11½ inches. So what we need to do is divide that in half. So that's going to be 5 3/4 inches. Is that right? Yeah, 5 3/4 inches will be exactly half. All right, so at 5 3/4 inches, we'll go ahead and set it up here. And mark it. And that's our halfway. Alright, we'll do the same on this one. Alright, so 5 3/4 inches is our halfway mark. So now we want to measure the base of our pivot base, or of our bearing seat, and it is right at about 3 1/4 inches. So, I'm sorry, 3 3/4 inches. So 1½ and 1½ is 3, and then half of 3/4 would be 3/8. So what we want to do is go 1½ plus 3/8. So 1 7/8. So now what we want to do is pull off of our center mark 1 7/8. And then we will take our square and mark the other side. Now, when we set our bearing seat up there, that should be dead center of the whole frame right there. Alright? So now what I want to do is I want to go ahead and get it lined up where I want it. And then I'll take my marker and that'll line me up for my holes. Now, in this case, I'm using 7/16 bolts. Alright, so I have a few bits here that I'm going to show you. I have a smaller bit that I'm going to use first, and I'm going to drill a pilot hole with that. Now I actually have a 7/16 inch bit here, so I'll go ahead and chuck that up in the drill and go ahead and get those drilled in. Now what I'll do, I have my holes drilled now, 7/16. I'll take my step bit and just round them off a little bit. And that'll clean any burrs that are on them. I'll do front and back. Alright, so our holes are drilled and we're ready to install our base. But before we do that, I need to go seat the bearing in this. So I'll be back in just a few minutes. Okay guys, so I have our bearing seated in our bearing seat. And I'm going to go ahead and bolt it up now to our frame. And I'm using, like I said, I'm using 7/16 inch bolts. So I'll just use the bolt with a washer on the front side or on the top side. This is where we can see if we need to shave any off, and I do on these two. Sometimes when you're starting your holes with that drill, it'll get off just a fraction, and when you're using bolts that are the same size as the hole, then you have to do a little bit of making it fit work. One thing I want to point out real quick, this has a grease fitting on it. I want to point the grease fitting to the side. It'll be easier to access. Alright, so then we'll put a washer on the back. And there. Alright guys, so that concludes installing the bearing seat or the bearing base, the swivel base for our windmill platform. So in the next video what I'll do is I'm going to show you why I installed this on here and what we're going to be using it for. Alright, so until the next video, get out there, shoot some guns, be safe, and most importantly, have fun. See you guys later.